Otto Suwen's Internal Affairs Struggle Line 1. Mr. Otto, I find it unfair that you're always traveling together with Master Subaru. With such rather violent comment, Otto was stopped by the call of a maid girl. The mansion's novice was no longer an appropriate expression to describe her skill. The girl, who during this year had gained enough skill to call herself by the title of a maid, was named Petra. There was Petra, her face charming, her cute cheeks reddened, making a cute statement, to which Otto bitterly smiled. The place was the Roswell Estates Hall. The time was early morning. Although he had been walking around the site for the purpose of relaxing his body, which had hardened after finishing the paperwork that had taken him the whole night, his sleepy head ended up receiving one unthinkable accusation. No, I think it is absurd for me to be told that, or rather, that is just vis major. Is it really so? So you haven't been secretly asking the master to please let you go out together with Subaru when he goes out? That means I'm being treated like a pretty creepy guy here, doesn't it? When he saw Petra's doubtful eyes, Otto made an exclamation loaded with a denial of extraordinary strength. The focus of Petra's suspicions was in the plan to visit the Watergate City, which was abruptly decided yesterday. Regarding this topic, jumping into a well-prepared opponent's pocket was one of the few things that Otto himself was truly interested in. But even so, it seemed to be an object of envy for Petra. Because, after all, in the list of those destined for the Watergate City Pristella, Petra's name was not. I think it cannot be helped, though. Petra, you have had plans to attend the meeting directed by the Margrave for a long time already, after all. I understand. I mean, that's a thing I myself suggested. Leaving a childish tone at the end of her sentence, Petra vexedly pinched her uniform's apron with her fingers. Petra, who would not be accompanying them to Pristella, would be playing the role of standing next to her master, Roswell. This was, in fact, something she herself had proposed, and a challenge too. Therefore, shall I go and speak with the Margrave, then? It's fine. I'm not a kid anymore. I can't be causing others trouble for this kind of things. When Otto made a light diversion, Petra clearly and promptly replied with her own determination. When Otto heard her doubt-lacking decision and burst into laughter, Petra's eyes were opened wide. Mr. Otto, you're evil. You were just testing me. Forgive me, but your answer was prompt, wasn't it? That made me feel at ease. While Petra expressed her anger with swollen cheeks, Otto apologized to her. But in the depths of his apology, the relief he felt at Petra's decision was genuine. Although he felt bad for Petra, he wanted her to excellently fulfill her role as Roswell's guard at the meeting. Roswell's behavior had had no questionable points to be seen during this year. Ever since the disclosure of his plans at the sanctuary, Roswell had been vigorous, actually doing his business as a supporter. This meeting was the result of that year. Since Otto would not be able to accompany him to that place, when it came to the topic of who to put in his place, it was Petra. Subaru, Emilia, obviously Ram, and even Garfield and Frederica, who had been affected by his plan, showed Roswell tolerance. That was a virtue of them. Not forgiving him was way easier than forgiving him. For Subaru and the rest, those who were able to do it naturally and without anguish, Otto felt appreciation. Therefore, he and Petra, those with the ability of not forgiving Roswell, were necessary. I kindly ask you to act as the Margrave's babysitter. Petra, you are the only one who can do this. Good. I was going to do well even if I wasn't told to. And you, Mr. Otto, make sure to watch over Subaru and Emilia's sister for me. Beatrice, too, you take your eyes off her for a second and she disappears, you know. And Garf, well, he's pretty burly, so maybe there's nothing to worry about. That is an incredibly precise evaluation. By the way, are you worried about me? Mr. Otto, you'll be all right, won't you? Why should I be worried? I really don't get why I'm being looked at with such a confused face, you know. With a face that looked more incredulous than he had imagined, being directed at him when he was just asking for the sake of testing her once more. Otto's laments echoed high inside the Roswell estate in the morning. To Mr. Otto, is now a good time? Along with a graceful knock, spoke and showed her face the beautiful leader maid who owned long golden hair. The one who arrived, her green eyes cast down, acting somehow apologetic, was the person who managed the tasks of the maids working for the Roswell estate. It was Frederica. seeing her visit his workplace. Oh, Otto rose his eyebrows. Miss Frederica, how unusual for you to come at this time. Wasn't the break after the end of fire time going to start soon? That is right. Today I will be laying tea and baked sweets out in the dining room. Petra will also be making very fluffy sauglaise, excuse me. I have strayed away from the topic. While she walked forward to the center of the room, Frederica looked a little embarrassed as she put her hand on her own lips. It was a gesture she could be seen doing whenever she smiled or looked straight ahead at someone. It was probably something she did in order to hide her fangs, which were just a tiny little bit pointier than a human's, and it seemed to have ended up becoming a habit. Although Otto did not mind it in particular, maybe it was something a mature woman would pay attention to. Because, whenever she went loose and gave a broad smile, she and Garfield looked very similar, like the siblings they were. Mr. Otto, as it appears Petra was impolite early this morning, I offer an apology from my side too. I have already made sure to firmly warn that girl. While Otto pondered such matter, Frederica bent herself deeply at the waist and spoke. Hearing what she said, "No, no," Otto shook his neck sideways. How exaggerated. There was nothing bad enough to be called impoliteness. Petra and I were just talking like we usually do, although, in that case, I am not sure if it is completely fine for me to say it. Come on, Mr. Otto. Even you think of it that way after all, am I not right? It is simply not correct. If she goes on taking advantage in that way of the kindliness that the people who look after her have, that child's growth will stop. You know, I somehow get the feeling that what you are showing is, rather than consideration towards me, concern for Petra's future. That is not something I can entirely deny. Before Otto's reproachful glare, Frederica awkwardly smiled as if she had given in. Although it was brave of her to conceal nothing, it was a well-known fact that Frederica doted on Petra and was trying to bring her up to be a splendid maid. Since Petra, with her own ambition to improve, also idolized the woman who was not only loving towards her, but also skilled at her work, it was evident, even from an outsider's eyes, that they had a good relationship. So, would her conduct at the next meeting be like some sort of culmination for that growth? Indeed, that child is a fast learner when it comes to work, too. I just cannot take my eyes off her. With a nod, Frederica proudly affirmed the way her favorite apprentice had grown. Otto closed one eye at her calm expression. Well then, and so he broached. Could it be that it is your younger brother who you are actually worrying for? Nothing can be hidden from Mr. Otto, it seems. That is correct, indeed. As you know, Petra is within my eye's reach, whereas Garf is where my hands cannot reach him. Her worries unending, Frederica put her hand over her ample chest and breathed out a sigh. Even Otto understood Frederica's misgiving and the unending fears she had about his younger brother. In Garfield's case, what caused that anxiety was his surroundings rather than the person in question. During this year, Otto too had been made to endeavor to do several things by his quick-tempered younger brother figure, who possessed strength superior to that of an ordinary person. Although, fortunately, Garfield idolized Otto as an older brother and did respect his opinions. Whether that child's behavior will cause trouble for Lady Amelia is what I am worried about. Up until now, that child has had no actual involvement with those related to the royal election, but this time he shall do so. Certainly, that makes me anxious too. Nevertheless, Otto did not harbor an anxiety towards Garfield as strong as the one Frederica harbored. Despite appearances, Garfield had the prudence necessary to keep his mouth shut when matters out of his own area of expertise came up. Were he to choose between the two, that kind of anxiety was way bigger when it was Subaru. Stirring up trouble at the scene through unnecessary remarks was his specialty. Incredibly, things often went well because of it, but that did not stop the griping pain in Otto's stomach. Lady Amelia is no exception in that respect, though. How troubled is Mr. Otto? However, Mr. Otto, I must apologize for making you deal even with these worries of mine, though. What? Troubled, that kind of gives me the feeling my neck is being wrung. Foo-foo. We do rely on you, though. No matter what anyone says, a camp where Mr. Otto is missing just does not function. I kindly beg, please, take care of everyone, especially my foolish brother. While Otto scratched his cheek with a finger, Frederica bowed politely before him with a smile. As he admired that posture, beautiful enough to be fascinating, Otto felt very deeply moved by her words. "Oh, Mr. Otto, is something wrong?" "I don't know, being treated this decently has moved my heart much more than I thought it would. I swear to do my best." Firmly, in front of the surprised Frederica, Otto raised his fist to show his newfound enthusiasm. And then, with his fist clenched, Otto tilted his head. "By the way, Miss Frederica, are you worried about me?" "About you? What does that mean?" "Even Miss Frederica does this to me." And so, being her perplexity so genuine and lacking in any malice, Otto ended up wounded. "3, Otto, I'll be entering whenever I want. I just brewed you tea, so thank me." When Otto returned to his workplace after taking a bath, he was greeted by such insolent voice and attitude. Inside the room, sitting on Otto's desk and elegantly tilting a cup of tea, was a pink-haired maid girl who possessed a sharp sweetness, Ram. To her imposing attitude and non-existent respect for those around her, Otto bitterly smiled and shrugged his shoulders. "At this point, it is no longer surprising, but why now? I would think you would be in the middle of treatment with the Margrave at this time if it were a normal day, or am I wrong?" "Yes, that's right. So I took a moment from my work hours and decided to drop by. And even during this break, my time with Master Roswal is being chopped to bits. I hope you're conscious of it." That's an awful way to phrase it. Nevertheless, aware that such things were just typical of Ram, Otto took the cup that had been put on the desk for him and carried it to his mouth. An exquisite scent and flavor passed through his nose and tongue, making him inadvertently fall into a trance. "Seriously, Miss Ram, your skill as a tea server is so first class." "Of course it'd be. Besides, the other merits Ram has are like stars. However, since the time when they can peek from a sky clear of clouds is short, they must choose whose head should they float above." "I know that much, though." "That's no good." As expected of Otto. "Excuse me, could you stop scorning everything with my name?" "Ha." Snorting, Ram brushed Otto's appeal aside in a way that admitted not of a reply. Although, in his current state of mind, even that was something he had already accepted as part of his daily life. Otto's lips broke into a smile immediately after that. "What? If you feel joy at being scolded, then you're hopeless." "So you are aware that you are scolding me?" "No, I'm thinking. There has been an awful lot of people coming to me with tasks today. Miss Ram, you, too, have come for something about Pristella, have you not?" Narrowing her light pink eyes, Ram kept her silence at Otto's words. But the very fact that she did not deny it was enough as a backup for Otto's conjecture. She, too, realized her silence was just an affirmation, and let out a sigh. "Who we're dealing with is a proper royal election candidate. On the contrary, here we have the not proper Lady Amelia going out to meet her personally. You understand your duty as her advisor is an important one, right? Shouldn't you say it in a little softer way? Glossing over the facts isn't going to make them change. Besides, Lady Amelia's course of action will affect Master Roswal's greatest desire too. And I don't want to see that face of discouragement when things fail either." "What?" "No, I just wonder, whose face is it that you do not want to see, the Margrave's or Lady Amelia's?" Seeing Otto tilt his head, Ram mercilessly, strongly clicked her tongue. Ram's sentiments were hard to understand and difficult to see, but she was genuine and loving. In fact, Subaru, Garfield, and even Beatrice were on the range of people she was considerate to. "Anyway, you've been warned. Looks like you've done drinking the tea Ram herself brewed. Think of this as your reward being already paid in advance, and then go give it all you've got out there." "What, so this was a bribe? At least I want one more cup when I come back." "That settles it then." As she lightly descended with grace from the desk, Ram loosened her lips. Before that smile, Otto sighed with the feeling of someone who had been just thoroughly finished. So since they were already talking about agreements, Otto looked back at Ram's smile. "By the way, this will also be the first time I have actual involvement with the royal election. Aren't you worried?" "Stop asking when you already know the answer. How nasty." "For could it be that they trust me after all?" Remembering his exchanges with Petra, Frederica, and then Ram, Otto tilted his head in puzzlement. Since he had stayed up during the whole previous night, today he planned to rest a little before morning came. Before doing so, Otto washed his teeth in the bathroom and went back to his bedroom. "Ah, Otto." And during the way back to the room, who he happened upon was Emilia dressed in her nightgown. With her long, silver hair damply wet, Emilia was unexaggeratedly beautiful as she smiled. It was not unreasonable at all for Subaru to lose his mind, thought Otto from an objective point of view as he bitterly smiled. "Lady Emilia, will you be going to sleep soon?" "Yes, I will. I gotta rest well and prepare for Pristella. I know I might end up causing a lot of trouble for others, but I will definitely be doing my very best." Clenching her fist in front of her chest, Emilia eagerly spoke with a look full of motivation. "Then, she continued, if you're there, I'm sure it'll be all right, Otto, because we rely on you a lot. Well then, good night. Otto, have sweet dreams." Waving her hand, Emilia left a smile behind for Otto, turned her back to him, and took her leave like that. While he saw her off from behind, Otto slowly shook his head sideways. "Looks like they trust me, after all." And so, letting out a slightly uplifted voice, he breathed a deep, long sigh as he looked forward.